failure is your friend. The fastest way to learn is to be willing to fail. When you have that live stream that no one shows up to, there's two ways you can go. You can
Kelly Roach, former Fortune 500 executive turned highly sought after business strategist and coach, and best-selling author.
don't overthink the platform. That really doesn't matter because
Is there something specific that you found that is helpful for a coach to stay consistent?
there's two rules that I tell people when they think about creating content. My rule is
She is the CEO and founder of Kelly Roach Coaching, helping overworked entrepreneurs become seven-figure CEOs.
You have a model that you teach, a
Yeah.
live launch model.
yeah, it's really the simplest, most direct way to add value and to invite people into your world.
Probably this is the same playbook or a similar playbook when you go from 0 to say 6 figures to 6 to 7 figures. Yeah.
It really is. This is what I always tell my clients.
What would you say to someone who's just starting out and they're going, hey, listen, I don't even know what to share? What's
The
your
easiest
suggestion?
thing when you're a new coach is to
Kelly, first of all, thank you for taking the time.
Yes, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
And something that piqued my curiosity, because it seems like you've helped a lot of coaches and consultants build phenomenal businesses and other businesses as well. What would you say if somebody was in their early stage of business, so say somebody who is a coach in any dimension doing, say, 6 figures?
Yep.
What would be a recommendation for them as a coach to think about or focus on?
Visibility, right? Because you became a coach because you want to impact people, you want to be of service, you want to make great money, and you want to have a freedom-based business. And visibility is the first step in being able to reach more, teach more, serve more, and get paid more, right? So when I say visibility, what am I talking about? What we're doing right now, podcasting, live streaming, being consistent on social media, networking in whatever way feels good for you. Some people like a really small room. Some people like to go to a big conference. Some people like to connect with people one-on-one. But just being visible and being of service, right?
Yeah. So would you say that's the same advice that you would give to somebody who's going from 0 to 6 figures?
It is.
Okay.
It is. It's very interesting. And I love that you asked this question because I was speaking to a room of entrepreneurs yesterday that had people from 0 to 8 figures. And obviously with where the market is today, everyone's asking the question, like, how do I grow? How do I, capitalize on where we are right now? People are taking more time to make a purchase. They're being more discerning about the buying process. And so trust building is so essential right now. And it's really interesting because the last couple of years, there's been a huge focus on micro content, right? 3-second story, a 30-second reel, and all of those things are really valuable. But especially when people are selecting a coach in the market of today, they want to feel like they know you. And they are going to, on average, consume about 11 hours of content before they make that choice of this is who I'm going to hitch my wagon to, right? This is the coach I'm going to follow, I'm going to work with, I'm going to buy from. And so you can either have someone need to follow you for a year and a half to get through those 11 hours, or you can say, you know what, I'm going to deliver these really high value, like thought leadership pieces and engage with people on things like podcasts and live streams. And I love this long form content. One, because of course you can still chop it up into short form.
Yeah.
So you have that. But two, people find your live streams, your podcasts, your videos like this for years to come. So it's not like you're just doing something and then it disappears like a story. This is going to live and people are going to keep discovering it and keep discovering you, right? Yeah.
I like that. And I also like the idea, at least from my perspective, doing any kind of content clarifies the way you communicate anything.
Absolutely.
And that tends to help you not just with your content creation, but just in engagement and conversations and whatever that you're doing, because
Absolutely.
there's a sense of clarity that comes when, let's say, we are going to talk.
Exactly.
There'll be something that'll be like, oh, that's a little bit more clearer to me, even if I've done it for a lifetime, because you get to talk
Absolutely.
about it as something at length.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. So one of the things it piques my curiosity, because what I find is choosing the visibility model often that I found my students is so distracting a lot of the times that they forget the point is trust. The point is not And maybe visibility is the wrong word that I am choosing, because what you meant was trust too.
Yes,
That's what I'm trying to get to.
Yes.
Is that it's not about number of likes and follows. It's about the trust you're building in the context you're building that trust in.
I couldn't agree more. And I'll tell you, one of the most important things that I did when I was building my coaching practice, so that was my first business. I took my coaching practice to 8 figures, and then I split out all my other companies that I run today. Probably 5-6 years ago, I stopped following other coaches online. I stopped consuming my competitors' content. I didn't check the likes or the comments on my posts. I would actually have my team go in, and I just focused on creating. And I just focused on how can I serve? How can I produce meaningful, thoughtful pieces that are really going to make a difference for people, and not worry about the metrics, not worry about who's liking it and who sees it and what does it look like in contrast to anyone else's. I just put the blinders on. And I really think that's one of the biggest things that allowed me, one, to leverage my intuition and be creative as a thought leader, because I wasn't being subconsciously influenced by consuming all these other people's content and then creating my content, and you don't realize how much you're influenced, right? Yeah. But the other thing is to your point, exactly what you're saying with your clients. I've seen the exact same thing with mine. It's like they're so worried about, how they're going to look, or whether it's going to get liked, or if it's going to get shared, or all those vanity metrics. I have a much smaller following than many people online that do what I do, and yet my business has been one of the most successful in my space. And there's a difference between, I actually wrote a book about this called Conviction Marketing, because when everything was coming out a couple of years ago about like the pointing and the dancing and, all the trending audios and all of that just didn't resonate for me. It does resonate for some people. I think you should make content however feels good for you. I don't think there's a right or a wrong way. It didn't resonate for me. And I found so many people that were like really kind of pulling back in their shell because they didn't see how they fit into that. It didn't feel, comfortable.
I don't want to dance on videos.
Yeah, like they just.
I'm a coach. Why do I have to do that?
Why do I have to point and dance? Why do I have to be, voice, echoing trending audios? It just doesn't fit for a lot of people in the ethos of what they're trying to create. Same with me. So all of this pointing back to what you're saying, which is you need to run your own race. You need to focus on building trust, adding value, creating thoughtful and meaningful pieces on whatever platform. Don't overthink the platform. There are people successful everywhere. It could be YouTube, it could be LinkedIn, it could be Instagram, it could be Facebook. That really doesn't matter, because if you're consistent with something, you're going to ultimately find the people that connect with that wherever you are.
Absolutely. Yeah. And relating more into that and leaning more into conviction marketing in a way, and potentially in what we are saying, the same things, is what I found is the reason why a lot of times you don't have to worry so much about the followers and the bigger following that the person has often has the wrong context. And because they have the wrong context of following, they actually tend to be individuals. And not that I'm saying everybody's like that, but I've met so many people with 1 million followers, 5 million followers, 10 million followers. And I'm like, and what's the revenue they're doing? 1 million. Well, like, so 10 million followers? How? Like,
I try to explain this all the time. And this is what, it's so intimidating to coaches that are coming up, and they don't realize that doesn't matter. And in fact, a lot of the creators that had been teaching about all these tactics to like go viral and to use all these trends to get all these followers really fast, they now have found following and engaging on cute, funny content doesn't lead to conversions. Yeah. So now they have these accounts with 1 million plus followers, but they're not making any money from it. Yeah. You can have an account with 1,000 or less quality followers, and you can have over $1 million business. Yeah. And that's what, it's important for people like us to share that, because it's hard when you're a new creator coming up and you're seeing this. It's so confusing and it's intimidating. But it's just, you got to run your own race. And I think that, you always hear the phrase like your income is determined by your impact. And a lot of people are like, but I want to make an impact. I'm creating, I'm recording, I'm putting content out. And it's like, but there's also a compound effect over time of being committed to your craft and being ruthless and relentless in the pursuit of the impact that you want to make on the world. Because just me waking up in the morning and saying I'm going to record 100 videos today, that doesn't mean anything. There's a continuity over time of sharing, promoting, connecting, serving, and that has to, it's like a snowball that has to build, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And to the point of less followers sometimes are probably better in some way. There's a student of mine, her name is Shui. She has, I think, 150 followers, or at that time she had 150 or 180 followers, something like that, something super small. And you would be like, oh, that's not, somebody would go, hey, why would I even post? It's like nothing. It's she was watching the 180 followers. But she was just consistent. She was just going at it. She's like, hey, listen, I'm just going to show up and I'm going to post every single day. She works with clients in the tourism field. And she said, I've secured 2 or 3 contracts, and the combined value of those contracts are $160,000. And she had 150 followers, and that's it. And all she was doing was what you're addressing, which is keep doing the work in the right context, in the right container. Don't go for the likes, don't go for the follows. Go for, I would say, at least her formula was be real. Like, don't try to fake it till you make it. It's like who you are is who you are. Give what you got, and just stay consistent to it. And engage with people. I think that was her secret sauce. Is like, hey, comment, and if somebody DMs, respond, and like really be of service. Yeah. And if you will be, people usually turn around and say, hey, maybe can we talk a little bit more? And that turns into something.
100%. I've seen that across the board with my clients. And that's where actually you can make leaps really, really quickly when you don't get caught up in the sludge of like needing to be kind of in everything and on everything. Like, you're not chasing the silver bullets, but you're just focused. And you're like, okay, I'm going to show up, I'm going to serve, I'm going to engage, I'm going to add value, and I'm going to create something about my brand that people feel like they can connect with, right? There's something about you. It works. Yeah. It's so simple, but it works, you know?
Yeah. It's just we don't stay the course.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's kind of quit halfway or quit in a few days or a few weeks or whatever it might be. Yeah. What would you say to someone that maybe a newer coach? Let's talk to them first, and then we'll go into maybe somebody who's a little more seasoned, who's just starting out, and they're going, hey, listen, I don't even know what to share.
Yeah. Yeah. The easiest thing when you're a new coach is to keep track of the repeated questions that you continue to get from your clients, because that's the kind of stuff that you should be creating content on. So let's say you even have 3 clients. Let's say you're really just getting started. You have 3 clients. Guess what? There's probably 10 or 12 questions that are going to come up and keep kind of resurfacing in different ways, different questions, different sticking points, different mindset blocks. If you just write them down and then break those out, I mean, that's content for a year right there, right? And I always say, you know, the best content is content that's not created in a vacuum. It's not created in theory, but it's instead either a conversation or a piece that's created based on questions that are coming up, based on conversations that you're having with the market. I think a lot of people get stuck because in online marketing in particular, there's this big kind of story that people have bought into about like automation and about not like actually connecting and everything being digitized. And for a lot of new coaches, I really advise against that. I think the most important thing as a new coach is connection, because all of your content, all of your messaging, all of your methodology for how you're going to connect with the market is going to come from you engaging with people, whether it's social selling in the DMs. Like when I was starting, I got tons of my content topics from just engaging from people in the DMs. They would come to my Facebook group and I would literally just message them and say, hey, what do you want to learn? Why'd you join the group? And they'll give you a book. They'll give you a book. And then all of a sudden you have topics for months in the future, right? Yeah.
That's so true. That's so true. Probably this is the same playbook or a similar playbook when you go from 0 to say 6 figures to 6 to 7 figures. Yeah. Is that the same playbook?
Yeah. It really is. I run multiple companies now, and now my teams and each of these companies are doing the same thing that I did when it was Kelly the coach, right? And now my company, it went from Kelly Roach Coaching, now it's called the Business Advisory because it's a team of advisors that coach. But these are the basic fundamentals, the basic principles that they don't change. They stay the same. There's always nuances that are shifting all the time on the surface. And especially now, right? In 2024, like business is changing so fast and you have to be very evolutionary in your strategy. But the fundamentals are all the same.
Yeah.
the fundamentals have been the same for over a decade, right? You create content, you add value for people, you engage, you do things to gain visibility so new people can find out about you, and then you make an invitation. Hey, do you want to hop on a consultation call? Hey, you've been in our world for a little bit now, does it make sense for us to talk about, your goal of getting your business to ABC, XYZ, or your goal of getting your health and wellness back on track, whatever it is, right?
Is there something specific that you've found, or a cycle that you've found, that is helpful for a coach to stay consistent over, for them to be able to find that rhythm of being able to create visibility?
Well,
or stay with it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is what I always tell my clients. You want to set things up in your business so you don't have to be perfect. We are humans. You're not going to wake up every single day and we make plans, God laughs, right? Stuff happens. So I always tell people, batch your content, batch your podcasts, batch your stories. I'll pick up a day and I'll have my team send me a list of topics. And if you don't have a team, that's okay. You can get this from the DMs from your own people, and you can make a list for yourself. But I'll record 40, 50 videos at once. I don't have to be perfect every day. I don't have to show up every day. I don't have to sit online every day for there to be visibility for my business. So I think the biggest thing is get a system in place for how you're gathering topics. That's where new coaches get stuck. They say, I don't know what to post. I don't know what to go live about. If you get a system in place where you're always gathering topics all the time, whether it's, I saw this topic online, this looks awesome, I want to do a session on this, or someone's asking me this on a coaching session, I need to record a live. The first thing is get a system for how you are always dumping topics so that when you need to create content, you're not like, what am I going to record today? And this is when people get inconsistent, because they're like, I don't know what to say, or I'm having an off day or whatever. And then one turns to two. So system first for the topics, system second for batching, so that you can set up a day a month where you're recording enough content to make it look like you have omnipresence and to keep your brand top of mind, which is really, really important without you having to be present every single day.
That's true. That's true. I find that, especially for the newer ones, I also find that you could find those topics while you're speaking with people. You
Absolutely.
Just have to write them
you just have to listen. Yeah.
Just be more present to that, because otherwise what tends to happen is we go on social media to create for social media, and then we get sucked into it, and we also 100%. Feel, somebody else has made this already. How can I, and why would I do it? It doesn't make any sense. This has already gone viral, or whatever the thing is, the story that we tell ourselves, that they'll just block our way to actually do something about it.
Yeah. So
based on your experience, what kind of topics, or is there a particular, because there's a big debate right now about creating polarizing content. What are your thoughts on that?
I've seen a lot of people going after that badly. I don't think there's something wrong with creating polarizing content if there's something that you feel really passionately about. But I think a lot of people are doing it as a marketing strategy. I think it's a really poor marketing strategy. I think a lot of it doesn't age well. I think it's I think a lot of people almost use it as like clickbait again, so they can get people fighting in the comments. And what I always tell people, there's two rules that I tell people when they think about creating content. My rule is I have a 10-year-old daughter, okay? So when I create a piece of content, I say, when I'm gone someday, and this is my legacy, and my 10-year-old daughter, Madison's going to be going through my content, am I going to be proud? That's number one. That's the first question I ask myself with everything I create. And then number two is 5 years from now, 10 years from now, are you going to be glad that you put this out on the internet? And three, does it align with the North Star of your business? And your North Star is, why are you doing what you're doing? Who do you want to impact? And what is the impact that you want to make? So who, what, right? And so if you know what your North Star is, a lot of this polarizing content that I think people are creating is for clickbait, and it does the same thing that going viral does. It gets you all this attention. It gets all these people like fighting in the chat, and your post goes viral, and all these people are seeing it. But how many of them are booking a consult for your coaching services? How? And so again, for me, like if you said, Kelly, if someone really wants to know the hottest strategies to get more engagement on their content online, maybe that would be one of them. It's not one that I use. It's not one that I teach. And I help people build 7- and 8-figure businesses doing coaching. You know, I just don't think you need to go there. I'm not saying there's something wrong with it. Again, I think that if you have a strong belief about something, great.
Yeah.
Share it. Like, that's part of your brand. I just don't love it when it's used for the wrong reason.
I so hear you. And there's a distinction I like to make is if you are trying to go viral, which is a lot of, especially newer or let's say individuals that have done less than $1 million a year in coaching revenue, and they haven't really understood or haven't sat with why they do what they do.
Yeah.
They go, oh, I'll just go viral and then my business is going to blow. And I'm like, no, if your desire is to go viral, first of all, that desire doesn't come from your business growing. It comes from a place of you wanting to be seen and heard, right? You want to get acknowledged for what you do.
Yeah.
Because going viral is not a strategy. Going viral is not even a need for business. For that matter, like we were talking about, is if you've gone viral, it's not that you have a bigger business.
No.
Some may.
No,
but most don't.
It's very interesting, though. I've seen a whole lot of people posting about the aftermath of going viral. Yeah. And it kills your account. Yeah. Because it attracts all these unqualified people. They'll come for that one thing, they follow, but then they leave, and now it just it tanks your engagement.
And social media platforms think, oh, it's just, it's one of those things. Yeah. Like it's a fluke.
Yeah.
And it keeps sending the same kind of people more and more, but you don't really want those people. No, there's nothing with those people that you will actually do.
Yeah.
And people think all attention, like the old school saying of all PR is good PR.
Yeah.
Not anymore. Not on platforms.
So.
Not on platforms. Not on platforms. Your intention shouldn't be to go viral. You shouldn't create content to go viral. You should create content to draw context to a conversation that you can have with a potential client or potential impact that you want to have with a person, even if they don't become a client.
Exactly.
But at least it's a related conversation, contextual to where you want to go in life.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
You have a model that you teach. You have a whole book about it called a live launch model. I was just curious about it. What is that?
Okay. When I was a newer coach, I did what all good new coaches do. And I signed up for the webinars and the courses, and I studied the launch funnels, and I bought into all the things. And for whatever reason, I just was failing. I was losing money launching. Like, it was not going well. And I came from a Fortune 500 background. I know how to sell. I know how to speak. I had been leading big businesses for a long time. Like, I was not like a new person, right? Mm-hmm. And during this time between when I started my business and when I was starting to launch, and as I was failing with launching, live streaming became available. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people forget that live streaming is still fairly new. Like, this was not a tool that we had. So I had been doing these methods, the very popular method that a lot of people do with the sideways sales letter, with the 80 PowerPoint slide decks and the professional cameras and the big studio and all these things. And it was killing my soul. It was exhausting. It was expensive. It was frustrating. And I was making no sales from it. So I was like, you know what? I got on the phone with my team one day and I was like, you know what, guys, we're throwing it all out the window. This live streaming thing is like, this is where it's at. This is what the future is. And I was like, I'm getting rid of all the tech. I'm getting rid of all the landing pages. I'm getting rid of all the everything. And I was like, and I'm not following a script. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I'm done with the script. I don't want to have to speak to a PowerPoint. I want to be present and just pour into the people that want to learn from me. And so I had no intention of ever teaching this to anyone else. I had no intention of getting into the launch space, but we went from a 10,000 launch to 100,000 to 1 million to, far more than 1 million. And so I was like, okay, I think this is what I'm like meant to be doing. And really, what is it? It's reverse engineering. So like, as a coach, you have one core thing that you want to help people accomplish. Mm-hmm. It might be finding their soulmate. It might be losing weight, right? Mm-hmm. It could be anything, but you have your one result. And all the live launch is asking yourself, if you could only have 3 sessions ever with this person to empower them to go get a result, the beginning of a result in this specific space that you teach in, what would you teach them? Mm-hmm. 4 building blocks. Mm-hmm. And so you break that down into 4 building blocks, 1, 2, 3, 4. And at the end of the 4th building block, you pivot into an invitation. You're like, cool, I poured into you. I taught you. I gave you how to take action. You've had a mindset shift. You have had a breakthrough. Now, would you like to continue this journey with me? Mm-hmm. And you just pivot into an invitation. And then on the back end of that, there are 5 specific sessions where you extend the invitation in all different ways. A lot of times it's through stories with your past clients and, all different ways. But it's really the simplest, most direct way to add value and to invite people into your world.
Are you saying these are 5 live classes? Is that what you're saying?
All live.
Okay.
All
so
live.
5 live classes, right? So you're saying day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5? Because you said 4 blocks. I'm just making
4 blocks and then 5 days of selling. So usually it's 9.
Oh, so it's
9 days.
Okay.
Now, we've helped people do it in 3 days. We help people in 5 days.
Let's do this.
But the core methodology, like the methodology that like blew up my business, my clients' business, the people that I've helped to really scale coaching practices, they were live for 9 days.
Okay.
And there's science, there's brain science behind that, because again, remember we talked earlier, 11 hours of consuming your content. Adults need to hear things 8 times in order to get them. We're pretty slow, right? So there's a lot of like energetics behind someone coming and spending that amount of time with you in your business, learning from you. They feel a sense of connection to your brand. They feel a sense of trust, right? So 4 building blocks, invitation, 5 days of selling, so 9 live streams altogether.
Okay.
And yeah, it's not scripted.
And I'm not asking.
Yeah.
So can I break it down?
Yes.
Because anybody that's listening might be like, I'm listening this for the first time.
Yeah.
It makes sense
Yeah.
of what you're really saying.
Yeah.
So 4 building blocks, maybe the 4 pillars or 4 steps
Exactly.
to something, right?
Exactly.
But that's pretty straightforward
Yep.
for at least how I'm hearing it. It's like, if you want to find your soulmate, love yourself, define who you want to find, whatever random 4 steps. That you
Perfect.
have.
See, we're already helping
Yeah,
people find
yeah,
their soulmates right here on this podcast.
Exactly. Because why not, 2 birds with the same stone or whatever.
Yes.
So 4 days is that.
Yes.
And then you're saying 5 days of positioning or selling. Does that mean 5 days of same webinars that are offering, or is it, because this is all live? This is all happening
All
live.
It's all
happening on
live.
social media. It's happening on your list. It's happening on whatever there is.
Yes.
You can go live.
Yes. So yes. And I've had customers that have done it on Facebook. I have people that do it on LinkedIn because their audience is more corporate. I have people that use YouTube. So it's where your people are and where your audience is. Obviously, you can use Zoom and then stream into places, which is what we do. But when you get to that back half, to answer your question, the 5 days of selling, each day in the 5 days of selling, you're repeating the offer. So you're doing a full pitch. But every day you're still adding tons of value. So for me, even when I get into my 5 days of selling, I'm going to give you a mindset shift. I'm going to give you tangible action steps. I'm going to give you clarity on something. So it's almost like these feel like bonus sessions. So there's a reason for people to show up.
Yeah, that's
you
what
want
I
to give
like.
them a reason to show up. And their reason for showing up is that you are continuing to add value. So at the end of every class, you're like, and make sure you're here tomorrow, because tomorrow I'm going to be teaching this, 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 and this.
Yeah.
Right? So you continue to add value, you continue to make the offer. And then this is, of course, when you start bringing in like client testimonials and stories and case studies and social proof and all of those things.
And I'm just hypothesizing, but I assume on those 5 days, as adding value, you're probably also handling all the objections they might have in making that decision.
Exactly.
So it's almost like you're doing a discovery call over 5 days.
Exactly.
If I may.
Yeah, exactly. So again, someone can just say, I mean, I haven't done this in so long because it's been so many years of doing it now. Yeah, and it's so fun. I mean, I have been live launching in my businesses every 6 to 8 weeks for 6 years now. And I've never burned out. I still love it. And I think the reason why is you have the freedom to be like answering people's questions live and listening to your intuition. Like, I'm a big intuition person. Like when I get ready for a live, like, I'm not going on a script. I am like, I have something in my mind that I want to convey. I have something very clear I want to share, but I'm also trying to like ground myself into, how am I here to serve today? Like, what is the transformation I'm leading people through? What is the value I'm going to give? What are the questions I'm going to answer? What are the objections that I'm going to overcome with them? And I think that is very freeing for people. I think the way that webinars are taught, they're very constrained and confined and rigid. And if you're someone like me, and for some people that's amazing. Like, some people love that and it's very comforting to them. For me, my soul can't deal with that. Like I want to feel like I can be free, And the big thing that is so unique about live launching is that we teach our clients to design a core live launch and then to cycle it. So they're cycling that same launch over and over and over again. And that is really important. And people don't realize how important it is. People need to get to know your brand. Yeah. They need to understand, who are you? What do you stand for? What's your one thing? And the way that launching is typically taught is that you'll create a launch, and then the next time you go to do a launch, you're recreating everything. And the problem with that is, beyond the fact that it's exhausting, it's time consuming, it's draining, it's so expensive, is that your market never sees you as the leading authority in anything. Because you're changing what you're doing all the time, and you're changing it for yourself. You're not changing it for them. Especially for coaches, this is important, because if you're selling high ticket, a lot of times people will come through more than one launch before they buy.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so if you're, every time you're launching something different, people are like, wait, I thought you were the person that taught this.
Yeah.
Now you teach this. Yeah. Why? And it actually breaks trust, because they're like, wait a second, if this was going well, like, why, right?
No, and also they don't see you as an expert. Or
Exactly.
Like, oh, you're going to just swing wherever you want to swing, wherever you need to swing.
Exactly.
And that's why you choose whatever you choose, really. And you make it better every time, of course.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You're always
get better.
iterating.
Yeah, you're making things better versus trying to go, okay, I'm going to go this other wave.
Exactly.
Maybe you didn't think it through when you were making the decision. If you're changing the wave every time that,
Exactly.
every time you feel a little dip in revenue, or every time you want to boost the revenue a little bit, you go, I'm going to just change again. That doesn't work. Yeah.
And especially new coaches, they're like, they want to change it every time. And I'm like, no, you're not understanding it. It's almost like you're trying to create an inroad in the market. And that inroad can only be created through that repetition and that trust building that happens through that being repeated. And every time you start over, you're literally starting over. And I think that is an important message for new coaches to hear.
I have a few follow-ups. So I count everybody as a new coach until they've done like $250,000 in revenue.
Yeah.
Because until that time, you're kind of, you don't know where, and the money is not consistent. So it's kind of like, it's still, you're new in my perspective.
Yeah.
And at that stage, often what I find is one of the biggest struggles, and it was my struggle when I started.
Yeah.
Is when you do anything online, or when you're doing this model, you may end up on a feed where there's literally no one watching.
Oh, yeah.
Or like 2 people watching, or 5 people watching. And then you go, oh shit.
Yeah.
Is this something?
Yeah.
And you suddenly go, oh my God, am I actually it's like, am I presenting 3 people? What's the mindset that a person needs at that time? What are we thinking? What would be a suggestion?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's where everyone starts. I mean, point blank, that's where everyone starts. I will never forget when I announced my podcast. I think it was 6-7 years ago now. I have over 1,000 episodes. I've made millions of dollars from this show. It was like in the top 20 of all podcasts in business. I made my big announcement. I was all excited, like 0 comments, 0 likes, except like my one team member. Like I think it had and that's how we all start everything that is great. And the only difference in life, and this isn't just about live streaming, this is about every single thing. The only difference is when you have that live stream that no one shows up to, there's 2 ways you can go. You can quit and you can peel back and you can say, I'm going to hide and that didn't work and, victim, whatever. Or you can say, okay, I'm going to work hard. I'm going to repurpose it. I'm going to share it out. I'm going to send it out to people. I'm going to tag people in it. I'm going to, try again tomorrow. And this person over here that goes this way, that keeps going, you end up hearing about their success stories. And this person over here, you never hear about because they quit. Right. And so, to your point, I've had so many live streams with no one on it. And what's really interesting.
Thank you for saying that. That's very helpful for anybody who hears.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Absolutely. As far as you want to go, I have a story for it all. But I will also say in today's market, it's really, really important because there was like this fanaticism about live streaming. First, when it came out, I mean, you would go live and there would be hundreds of people, right? Because it was new, it was exciting, whatever. Then it died down a little bit. Then COVID came. Everyone's home, right? So again, right? Hundreds of people. Then everyone was like able to leave their houses and start traveling again. And it tanked, right? So now we're in this very weird place of like, The market is maturing. People are back to their lives. Economy is shifting, whatever. And so, you're not going to get on a live stream and just have like hundreds of people there. But what is very, very important, and I've noticed this with my own content, I've noticed this with like the sales that we're generating. We brought in almost 400 new clients in the first quarter of the year. Mm-hmm. A lot of content may not be seen for like a day, 2 days, but then slowly it starts to get traction and it starts to get visibility. There's something going on with the algorithm. So I would just say to everyone listening, you cannot let you can't let the tail wag the dog, essentially. Like your behavior can't be dictated by the number of people that engage on your content. You have to create your content. You have to believe in what you're doing. No one's going to believe in you more than you believe in yourself. And you have to make the decision that this is a no matter what for you. And you're going to do it whether there's 100 people there. You're going to do it whether there's no one there. You're going to do it whether there's one person there. And it's that mindset that then is going to start getting you that traction over time. Absolutely. Yeah.
It's a I don't know who said it, but I remember somebody framed it for me differently in a similar way. Said, well, if nobody shows up at the live stream, it's a great practice session.
Exactly.
Just treat it like, all right, it's a great practice session.
Exactly.
Because and one big block that often I hear people go, but what if I'm not good on the stream? What if I'm not, really really amazing on it? And to them sometimes I go, well, if nobody showed up and you were not good, well, great. Yep. Because nobody saw it, but you got your practice in. It's like standing in front of the mirror and just talking in the mirror, just getting ready for your speech, getting for your talk, and just making sure you feel good about it at the end of it, and doing it for yourself versus doing it for somebody else.
It's so true. And, I think the other thing is just remembering the way life works, right? You can't get good at something in theory. You can't think yourself into being good at it, right? Like if you want to be a great live streamer that can make sales on camera, that can, move people to consultations and conversions, and you want to make millions of dollars from live streaming, well, then you have to run reps of live streaming the way an athlete comes into practice every day. They're shooting, foul line, right? 2-point line. They're running drills every day. They're not looking around every time they shoot a ball in practice every day to say, who's clapping for me? Mm-hmm. Where's my audience, right? And I think as entrepreneurs, we have this false perception or expectation that everything that we do is going to be like this massive, event or ROI or whatever the case. And it's not like that. Like we are business athletes. And we need to treat our businesses as our sport, which means we have to show up and we have to practice the things each day that are going to move our business forward. Sometimes it's going to land and it's going to be a huge success, and sometimes it's going to bomb, and that's just part of it. But the more that you're attached to how much applause you're getting for anything that you're doing in business, the less success you're going to have, because that's taking up all your mental capacity, right? The more that you're totally detached from what the response is, and you're really mentally focused on what you're putting out and trusting that will ultimately come back in that way or something different, you have the mental capacity to be creative, to be thoughtful, to be impactful with what you're putting out there. And I think that's what steals a lot of joy for people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're
so right. And I like the metaphor that you just used, which is treat your business like an athlete treats a sport. They don't get on the turf the first day and expect that they're going to get all the... That's not how it works out. Remember this interview, Kobe Bryant, I think, did it. I could be wrong about who exactly said it, but I remember his story. He said most athletes can get 2 practice in a day. Like they can go to the court 2 times and shoot the hoops for 2 hours, because then they got to rest. Yeah. And they got out at a gym session or whatever. So basically you can get 2 practice rounds if you wake up like a regular person at 8 a.m. or 7 a.m., right? He says, I wake up at 4 a.m. Because what happens when I wake up at 4 a.m. is my first session at 6 a.m. Most of the people are going to the gym for the first time at 8 a.m. So what I am getting is a whole extra session, which may look like it's just one extra session, but now compound that over 300 days. I have 300 extra sessions. Over 3 years, I have 1,000 extra sessions. I have probably shot the ball or practiced my move 10,000 extra times than a person has, because I just woke up a few hours ahead. Now, I'm not advising people to wake up at 4 a.m. and live streaming, but the point is it's an athlete's mindset, is to say it's not about what happens at the court. It's what's important is what I'm doing off court, because when it's time to actually shoot, I am more likely to win. And it was a top athlete. I think it was Kobe Bryant.
I think it was Kobe. I think I actually heard that. And what I'll add to that is that when you develop muscle memory in something, you're no longer concentrating on just how you're doing what you're doing. You're able to be present and be in your body and actually enjoy the experience of what you're doing. And that's when you have real joy in your business, right? When you can wake up in the morning and you can go through your day and you can run your business and lead your team and manage your clients and do your marketing and actually enjoy being present in what you're doing. But that comes from muscle memory.
Yeah.
When you start, it's awful. I remember being on camera when I started. It was awful. I would re-record a 2-minute video 35 times. My poor husband, he was so patient with me, right? But I didn't have the muscle memory yet of just being comfortable in my own body. And it was only through repetition that I got to the point where when a camera's on, I'm not even thinking, the camera's not even there to me. All I'm doing is I'm focusing on how I'm actually exchanging with the person that I'm there to serve, right?
Yeah. And you're going to do this repetition anywhere, anyways. Whatever model of business you choose. You choose a live launch model, you just go visibility with social media, you decide to speak at events, whatever it is, you will have to get those reps in. And the only way to get the reps in is to get the reps in. There's no other model for this. No. And you have to stay, get into the game, get into the field.
That's it.
For you to see progress in your life.
Yeah.
So based on everything that you just said, so if there was a person that's listening to this right now, let's say there's a person that's transitioning careers. Let's say they're already successful. This tends to be our avatar. They're already successful in a field in their life. They're usually executives or some kind of executive. They don't necessarily have a problem with money. They think they do, but they don't. They're now saying, hey, I've done work to make money. Yeah. My kids are either out or about to be out. So I have time. I have resources. And I'm just about to get started.
Yeah.
What's your 3 or 5 steps for them to kind of go, okay, here is how you would get into it? And these are all people who want to create an impact in society. That tends to be our people.
Yeah.
They want to do something good. They want to do something that's meaningful, that also utilizes what they already know.
Yeah.
They also don't want to start from zero.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was very much like me. I was a Fortune 500 executive. I had climbed the corporate ladder for a decade. I was ready to do work that I really felt mattered, that was going to impact people. And that's why I got started in 2012 doing what I'm doing. What would be the first couple of things? Well, first of all, get really clear on how you want to impact people, right? And there's so many different ways that we can impact people. And you said, it's leveraging skills that they already have. But chances are you're leveraging skills that you already have, but you're not doing what you are already doing. You're going to be doing something different, right? So what's the one problem that you want to solve? That's the first thing, right? That's step one. And then step two is, what do you think you could enjoy or that you could do to share about your business that would feel great for you, right? Because as you mentioned already, some people live stream, some people like to speak on stages, some people network, some people just focus on visibility on social media and just drive a book a call strategy. Some people, their whole strategy is advertising and they just drive people to their business from that, right? So I think it's figuring out like what path do you want to follow, right? To solve this one problem. And then just start sharing like crazy. It's imperfect action, right? Start building an email list, set up your social media accounts, get some fresh headshots. It can be on an iPhone. It doesn't need to be this hard, complicated thing, but start sharing with people like crazy that this is what you're doing now and this is why you're doing what you're doing. And chances are you'll get your first couple clients. And it's from working with those first couple clients that you get really clear on like, okay, I don't want to do this. Like that didn't work. I don't want to do that. But this over here, I love this. Like this is where I want to be. And I want to work with people like this. And then from there, you can kind of get that snowball going and get a process. I mean, for me, when I was getting started, I had worked in the business to business space. And so online was totally new to me. I knew nothing about online marketing. My business that I had been working for didn't function. So the first thing that I did was I hired a coach in the online space so that I could learn online marketing because I knew that was like a new language. And I was like, okay, I can sit here and spend 3-4 years trying to figure this out, or I can just go learn from someone that has already done it. So that was one of the first things that I did. And then advertising, because advertising is like rocket fuel. Even if all you're doing is focusing on advertising for visibility and exposure for people to like learn who you are and come see your content, that's a great starting point, because now you have like people to work with and to connect with.
Are there any mindsets that you would suggest for anybody, like 4 or 5 or 1 or 2 mindsets that you found are consistent to people that have been able to create the success they wanted to create in their own terms?
Yeah, I mean, imperfect action. That's the number one above all else. Your competition and your saboteur and your only thing that's holding you back is you. There's so much fragmentation. People are always like, oh, the online space is so crowded and blah, blah, blah. No. It is so fragmented that the amount of opportunity for all of us it's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. Like, you couldn't serve the people that need you if you tried. You couldn't build a business big enough. And so I think having an abundance mindset is really important. And that's not abundance from just like a woo-woo, like platitude. Like, that's really like understanding the economics of market share and understanding that we are operating in fragmented markets. No one has more than really even like a 1% share. Like, the economics of it create complete abundance, and it's very much an even playing field. That's number one. Number two is the imperfect action, because like you just mentioned, in your world with a lot of the clients you're working with, like, they've had a high level of success in their career already, right? They know what they're doing. They have a skill. They've built a career. And on one hand, those things are amazing because you have that to carry forward. On the other hand, you've been trained not to mess up and to hold a certain demeanor and to like own your career and all of these things. And then what happens is when you step into your own business, it's like you're a baby all over again. And you have to be okay with the fact that like you're going to have to learn to crawl, then walk, then run. And that's just a learning process that we all go through. So I think imperfect action and being okay with that. And I think that goes hand in hand with the third mindset I would give, which is just failure is your friend. The fastest way to learn is to be willing to fail. The people that I've seen, like my clients that have really had massive success growing quickly and scaling, they're people that weren't afraid to fail because they were willing to like go for it. And in going for it, they failed a lot, but they won way more than the average person. The people that I see really struggling are the people that are so afraid to fail that they don't actually like allow themselves to play full out and really like go for it, you know? So I think the abundance mindset, I think imperfect action, and your relationship with failure are 3 of the biggest things that will have a huge impact on your success in this space.
That is so true. And I feel especially the last bit, your relationship with failure in a way is because, again, these people now are regarded in one way or another. They have been profiled. They worked 10, 20 years into a field and they're like, I'm known for X.
Exactly.
And I can't start or restart a social media or get on social media for the first time and present myself out of the context of what I've been known for, because it feels like everybody's going to ask me questions or what would they think and what would they feel about it, and is it right, is it wrong, what will my family think? And it becomes a big challenge for most of us. And we need to learn how to be okay with that. When I first started in the field, I want to take us back maybe 15 years at this point, 16 years, when I first started just working, period, I joined a media company and I was doing good there. I was a salesperson for the team. I was a multimedia salesperson, the only person that was doing it for this really large newspaper in India and newspaper media house in India. And I was successful at it, but I was unhappy at it. And so I said, I'm going to try something else. So I tried to start an internet company, which was more like a Facebook before Facebook came to India. And I wasn't aware Facebook existed at that time because it was just not there in India. We didn't know. And so I got this company that I was working for, invested in the business, and then Facebook came. And of course, I had no chance. I didn't have the technology, nothing we hadn't thought through anything to even stand a chance, or at least I didn't think I had a chance. But what it really got me interested in was internet. I was just like, there is something going to change, because this thing, like when I signed up for Facebook, I was like, this is amazing. Like, this is insane. Like, I could be on this for hours. And that there's got to be. And that time there were no ads on Facebook from what I recall. There were none. And I was like, damn, this is like, I don't know how they're making money, but this is addictive. This is too good. And I said, there's got to be a future in this thing, because if I who's at that time I was like 23, 24, something like that. It's like, wow, if at that time I am so, what's the next generation going to be like? Or even the future generations, the generation that have passed would be like on this thing because this is so good.
Yeah.
I could connect with friends from school already and so forth. And so I decided that I want to learn this. But of course, in India, it was nothing at that time. We had no education around it. Nobody knew enough. There was nobody successful in that field. So I was like, oh, crap, I have to do something. And so I reached out to my friends who were out of the country, just simply saying, hey, do you know a company that's hiring that will hire somebody that has no experience in this, but are willing to take an intern?
Yeah.
Which is a huge drop from where I was because I was the lead of a media house at 24, 25, and they were willing to hire me back at the same role, same everything. I'm going from there to becoming an intern, which is a huge drop.
Yeah.
And that when I was doing it, and because I found it, and that company now is Mind Valley, which is very well known. At that time, it was a little startup with 5 people. It was nothing. But at that time, when I took that job, literally there was not even a single person that would say, that's a good idea, or that was a smart idea. Pretty much everybody was like, this is dumb. What are you doing? Why are you throwing away your life? You're such a great job. People, and you're not even qualified in anything because I'm not like an MBA or anything like that. I have no real degree to have a real job.
Yes.
The reason why I tell this story is because it worked out.
Yeah.
It worked out, and I think it'll work out for everyone if they gave it a chance.
Yeah.
The challenge is we don't give ourselves a chance. We don't give ourselves an opportunity to say, hey, let me try it because I'm called to it.
Right.
Not because it's right or wrong, because who's to say, and we'll never really know until we try it.
Yeah.
There's a friend who reminds me of this quote, because he reminded me recently of this quote, which is, you don't regret things you did. You always regret the things you didn't do. You regret omissions in your life.
It's so true. Yeah. And I love, the thing about your story that's so important to point out, and there's so many amazing things about that, your willingness to put yourself in that space to learn because you had that conviction and you knew, and you were willing to like put yourself back in order to move yourself forward. But the important lesson there for everyone to just really think about is, you said everyone you knew was like, this is a horrible idea. You're wasting your time. Like, you're throwing away your life. You have a great job. And this is the feedback that we all get, right? When we have a big idea about something that is a calling for us that is different from the expected path or vision or whatever that people have for our life. And I think so many people, and you said, the regret is the thing you didn't do. It's not the thing that you did. If you did do it and it didn't work out, you never regret it because you end up learning from it, right? And that's what happens. The things that we made mistakes on, we still are like, yeah, but if that didn't happen, I wouldn't have learned this and it wouldn't have led me to that. And so I don't want to take that thing back because I wouldn't be where I am today. Yeah. For so many people listening today, they need to think about your story there and ask themselves, are they allowing the opinions or even the perceived opinions that haven't even been shared about what they do with their life to affect what they're doing with their life? Yeah. Because I love that image. I don't know if you've seen it on social media where it's a picture of an empty room. Mm-hmm. And it's like, these are all the people that are going to pay your bills with their opinions about what you do with your life, right? And it's so true. And it's so easy to get caught up in fear, obligation, guilt, habit, and then make decisions based on other people's lives instead of like, what is your conviction? What is your belief? What is your calling? Like, you have this one shot. Like, what are you doing with it, right?
Yeah. Every moment is one shot you got.
Yeah.
You choose to take it or you choose to not take it. And that's the decision you make.
That's it.
And everybody that is telling you not to do it, I learned this over time, that they were more scared for themselves than they were scared for me. They were more scared for what will happen to their relationship with me, what will happen when I go away, will I ever come back?
Yeah.
They were so scared for their life, they couldn't even see that they're not scared for me. I mean, they loved me, and they love me even now.
It's good and it's well-intentioned.
They're well-intentioned, but fearful for them, not fearful for me. I remember having this conversation with my mother because she was the biggest proponent I shouldn't do it. Oh. I was like, why did you do that? It's like, I didn't know. I was just scared that something would happen to our relationship. Something would happen to you, and I didn't want you to go away. And so it's important to remember that it's not that they're not trying to hold you back. They're just scared themselves. And because they're so scared, they don't know. They don't know how to help you. And so they go, just don't do it. So I don't feel so inadequate.
Yeah.
of not being able to help you. And sometimes it does remind them of their own, them being inadequate.
That's exactly what I was just going to say. I think what's so hard about that is a lot of times, and I've learned this definitely as an entrepreneur, is like the people who you think are going to be like your biggest advocates, your biggest cheerleaders, the people that are your biggest supporters many times are not. And it's not necessarily coming from a bad place or anything like that. But what's really, really risky about listening to that is that many times they didn't go for it themselves, right? And so they're sitting in a place in their life advising you on something that they have no business advising you on. And so the advice I always give to people is, you can love and trust and spend quality time with all different kinds of people in your life, right? But take advice from people that are where you want to be in that area of life. Like if someone's going to talk to you about your marriage, you better make sure that they've had a 50-year marriage that's beautiful, that they're still in love, that they're together. It's just, and so many times the people that are sharing their opinions, I always say, I learned when I got in business that people have opinions on opinions of opinions of opinions, and you didn't even know there are things that they have opinions about that you even thought people could have an opinion of. And you just have to become immune to that, because otherwise you're reacting to things that aren't grounded in what's good for you.
Yeah.
And it's just important to remember that.
So true. So true. Kelly, a question I like to ask everyone. What is the one or two beliefs that you would like to install if you had a chance on individuals that would help them tremendously?
I think that God's plan for your life and the vision for you before you were born was so much greater and more magnificent than you could ever possibly conceive or imagine for yourself. That whatever your dream is, it's like a tiny fraction of what you're capable of and what is for you, and to just go for it.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Kelly, how will people get to know more about you? How can they learn more about your work? How can they learn more about your businesses?
Thank you so much. The Kelly Roach Show is a great place. I release 2 new episodes every single week. You have to come on the show. I have to get you on the show. So the Kelly Roach Show is a great place. There's over 1,000 episodes, so you can just come and binge whatever topic you really want to dig into. My handle on Instagram is Kelly Roach Official. So come pop in the DMs and say hi. Send you some live launch resources.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Kelly. It was fun talking to you.
Thanks for having me.